Got some live questions coming in here, and I want to go ahead and answer some of those real quick. Bonnie asks, is there a sample daily or weekly menu to cover the max weight loss? Bonnie, there is a kind of sample menu in the step-by-step program. In terms of sort of to maximize weight loss, we generally talk about servings of vegetables, proteins, and fats. So we do not prescribe meal plans, because after years and years and years of doing this, and after everyone else in the world, every weight loss program in the world says, eat exactly this at exactly this time. And if we do that, great. But the problem is we can't do that long term. So what we need to do is we need to learn the underlying principles and apply those to our lives. But if you want, for example, a sample meal plan, there are food lists and there are some examples provided in your step-by-step program right there in your first course. And I want to be really, really clear about something. There is, and this is going to get into some of the stuff we need to cover later. We've got a lot of stuff to cover today, but this is really important, okay? There is absolutely, positively no secret to how you lose weight as quickly as possible. And what I mean by that is, like, there is an entire profession, right? They're professional bodybuilders and fitness competitors. Like you can, these individuals that you see in magazines, right? There are specific protocols and diets that they go on for, 24 weeks leading up to a photo shoot that gets them down from their naturally athletic physique to whatever, 5% body fat for a guy and 10% body fat for a woman. Here's how you do that, okay? And the thing, though, is that it's not sustainable. It's potentially not healthy. And when I tell you this, you're going to say, well, that's crazy. I would never do that. And that's totally reasonable. But that's what these people do. So here you go. Here it is right here. Here is the standard bodybuilding / fitness competitor / if you're a man, get to single digit body fat percentage. If you're a woman, get to the low teens, AKA be so lean that your menstrual cycle stops and it's not healthy. Here's how that will work. Ready? You eat 5 to 6 meals per day. Okay. Every single one of those meals is broken down like this. Basically, it's a can of tuna fish, or it's a chicken breast with nothing on it, nothing at all. and then you've got basically steamed broccoli or steamed vegetables. And then you're going to have maybe 100 calories of a healthy fat. And that's what you're going to eat at every single meal for like 4 to 6 meals per day. In addition to that, you are going to exercise in some form or another every single day, no questions. If you do that, you will consistently lose a massive amount of fat, but it will take over your entire life and you will be miserable. So the question isn't like, how do we become fitness models? Like you go on a fitness model diet. You eat tuna fish and vegetables. That's basically it. So if you just want to lose weight really fast, eat tuna fish and vegetables. That's going to help you lose weight, and just exercise constantly. But I promise that, you wouldn't have joined the SANE Ignite family if that's what you're after. So what we have to do is we have to find a way to understand how we take something that isn't that regimented and isn't that short-term focused, right? Even the people who do that professionally, they do that for 4 weeks leading up to their photo shoot. And then after their photo shoot, you talk to them and they went out and ate 6 pizzas because they're miserable and they can't keep it up. So when we talk about if you want just once and for all, if you want maximum fat loss, you have to do maximally sort of ridiculous things. So SANE is about long-term happiness and health and sustainable fat loss, right? There is no other lifestyle or tool set or science or evidence-based program that will make you healthier and slimmer for the rest of your life than SANE. But if it's like, I want to lose 7 pounds in 7 days, I mean, I just told you how to do that. That's the secret. The secret is eat tuna, fish, and vegetables. That's it. But please don't do that, because I care about you, and the rest of your SANE family cares about you for the rest of your life, not the next 7 days. So please work the system, non-starchy vegetables, nutrient-dense protein, whole food fats. There's 1,400 recipes available for you in the program. If you want a sample meal plan is pick one of the breakfast recipes, pick one of the lunch recipes, pick one of the dinner recipes, shoot for 3 servings, 2 to 3 servings of vegetables per meal, a serving of nutrient-dense protein, and 1 or 2 servings of whole food fats per meal. Boom, done. You got it, and it's enjoyable, and you don't have to eat just tuna, fish, and vegetables all day. if that's okay. I don't want to be eating tuna, fish, and vegetables all day. I mean, it's good. I do eat tuna, fish, and vegetables, but not all day, every day, if that's all right. All right, let me go back to one of the questions that were written in here. Let's see. Is it good to eat protein and vegetables together? Yes. So every time we eat, we want to try as much as possible to eat a complete SANE meal. That includes vegetables primarily, then protein, then fats. Eating them together is better than eating them separately. Let's see. Does using water and green tea and cocoa count towards the number of glasses for daily intake? So as a general rule of thumb, any form of tea and water, and if you make smoothies, those all count towards your fluid goals. So it's not drink a gallon of water and a gallon of green tea and a gallon of green smoothie. You'd never leave your bathroom if you did that. Anything that's liquid that isn't soda or coffee, because coffee just has some diuretic effects in it, counts to your fluid intake. So let me know if you have additional questions around that one. Am says, Jonathan, I'm suffering from IBS, which is exacerbated by stress. I used to use white rice, chocolate, and special pomegranate juice. Are these okay? And if not, what would you suggest? So white rice Am, this is a great example of that which is good for one goal can very well be good for that goal, but not good for another one. Let me give you an example. Actually, let me give you a more relatable example than what I was about to say. Like white rice, for example. White rice is incredibly easy to digest, and it's very efficient, right? That's what we talk about. There's very little fiber in it. It basically is almost like eating pure glucose. So if an individual, for example, you'll notice that if you're feeding a baby, you sort of feed them certain things first and other things later, because their digestive system is still becoming, accustomed to not being in utero. Same thing happens if we get very old, if you happen to find the fountain of youth, let me know. When we become older, and if we become very ill, we might be given different foods to eat because they're less taxing to digest. So there are things we can do that could potentially ease up our digestive burden, but that are not great for fat loss. So that's, one of these things here for when it comes to IBS, eating, I would say, cocoa instead of chocolate would be a saner option. Much saner, because cocoa is fabulously good for you and sugar isn't, and chocolate is essentially cocoa with a bunch of sugar added to it. I'm oversimplifying, so maybe go with cocoa. Cocoa is one of the sanest substances on the planet, and if possible, instead of pomegranate juice, I would recommend eating the pomegranate seeds, because we'll always want to go, when in doubt, go with the whole food, right? Coconut oil is a great oil, but what's even better? Coconut. Olive oil is a great oil, but what's even better? Olives, because they've got all the good stuff that the oil has in it, plus all the protein and all the fiber and all the nutrients that get removed when you turn it into an oil. So maybe stick with cocoa and pomegranates, the seeds, rather than the juice. And you could you could still achieve your IBS goals while moving towards a saner version of that, if that makes sense. Let me know if you have follow-up questions. I'm going to jump into some of the questions that were written in here. I'm going to go rapid fire. All right. Next one here is, if eating protein first, what time period should I eat my non-starchy vegetables? I apologize, I don't understand that question, so I'm going to move on to the next one. Let me know if you're here live. Provide me with a little bit more info and I'll answer it. If doing 20 to 30 grams of protein at 3 or 5 of my meals, what is the minimum amount of non-starchy vegetables needed? How about good fats? Rock and roll. So yeah, we want to do 20 to 30 gram doses of protein, because that's how we trigger the muscle protein synthesis, and that's how we achieve a lot of the metabolic benefits. At 3 of my 5 meals, first thing is, instead of doing that at 3 of your 5 meals, could you do it at 4 out of 4 meals? There's sort of, when you're eating, making sure that you're getting that dose of protein is important and is really beneficial. So for example, if you're eating 5 meals and 3 of them contain 20 to 30 gram servings of protein, I would strongly encourage to try to get the 20 to 30 grams of protein in the other 2 if you can. Or if the other 2 are, for example, just green smoothies because you're trying to get your vegetable intake up, that's fine. More vegetables is always fine. So you should never, ever, ever feel bad about eating more vegetables. That's the way to go. What is the minimum amount of non-starchy vegetables needed? There is no minimum when it comes to combining with protein. The reason you want to combine vegetables with protein is protein can cause an acidic balance in your body, and vegetables help to make it more alkaline. So at a minimum, I would say a serving of green leafy vegetables. Right? Green leafy vegetables are the most potent vegetables, if you want to think about it that way. So when in doubt, try for at least 1 serving of green leafy vegetables every time you're eating protein, if at all possible. Good fats, and this is going to segue into a bigger topic I wanted to cover today. How much good fat is required. So technically there are essential fats, and those are, you've heard about omega-6, omega-3 fatty acids. It's really easy to eat omega-6s. They're basically in everything, kind of, whereas omega-3s are almost in nothing unless you just eat chia seeds and flax seeds and fatty fish all day long. It's very hard to eat omega-3s, and omega-3s are extremely good for you. So how about good fats? What's the minimal amount? I would say 2 servings of whole food fats is the lowest you'd want to go in a day for optimal health. Now, there was an excellent question posted in the support group. I'm going to go a little bit less rapid fire now because I really want to explain this, and it's really important. And that's what these calls are about. I love rapid fire questions, but I also love being able to get deep into stuff that you will never hear anyplace else, because we live in a soundbite world. So sound bites are fun. We're going to have some sound bites, but I want to give you some substance to back up those sound bites as well. So I have said, and will continue to say, that if you are, for example, if you have 100 additional pounds of fat stored on your body, you do not need to eat as much whole food fat as someone who does not have any excess fat stored on your body. Because if you have a bunch of fat already stored on your body, like, you have energy. There is energy in your body already. So what we need to do is we need to restore your body's natural ability to burn off that energy first and foremost. Whereas someone who's already lean, like, they don't have any energy in their body. So if they don't eat the energy, they can't get it anywhere else. So the question that came up in the support group, which is a great one, and I actually just, Dr. Mark Hyman and I just had a conversation. It's available on the blog, where he talked about his new book, which is something like Eat Fat to Burn Fat or something along those lines. And we're hearing more and more literally the message of eat fat to burn fat. And, so if that's true, then why is Jonathan saying that for the people who need to burn fat, let's say the most, that they are the individuals who might need to eat the least whole food fats? Like, how do you explain that? Right. So like, what's going on there? So let's really unpack this. Let's really unpack this. Okay. Because this is an example of, there are, everything that's said is true. Like, you do need to eat fat to burn fat. And you don't want to eat excessive fat if you already have a lot of fat stored inside your body. And those statements are both true once you understand the deeper science. So that's what I want to explain right now. And the easiest way to think about this is to burn fat. You have to have two things. You have to have the ability to burn fat biologically, and you need to have the need to burn fat biologically. So let's talk about what both of those things mean. So, and let's look at either end of the spectrum. There you go. Now you can see my hands. All right. So on one end of the spectrum of things you hear on the internet, there are people who are just like, you should eat fat all the time. You should add fat to things that you drink. You should just eat all the fat. The more fat you eat, the more fat you'll burn, right? That's sort of one extreme, almost hyperbolic example. Then there are people who are saying like, you should never eat fat. You should just eat less. Eating less causes a caloric deficit. And if you cause a caloric deficit, you're going to burn fat. Okay. So both ends of the spectrum are wrong. They're exaggerations that miss the point, and the truth is here in the middle, like most things in life. So here's why these are both wrong, and here's why we want to move to the middle. So if you just, let's start with the first one. No, let's start with the easier one, which is the people who just say, just eat less. So just eat less, especially eat less fat, because fat has 9 calories per gram, and you want to avoid eating calories, because if you avoid eating calories, then you'll create a caloric deficit, right? These are what we read in all the popular magazines, like eat 500 fewer calories. And if you eat 500 fewer calories, then your body will burn 500 calories worth of fat, and then you'll lose a pound per week, because that's 3,500 calories in a pound of fat. So you lose a pound per week, right? We've heard this logic for 50 years, and it never works. And here's why it doesn't work. Because the individuals who are preaching that are only focusing on creating the need to burn fat. They believe that if you starve yourself, that you have created the need to burn fat because you are taking in fewer calories than you burn. And then they assume that then that need for additional energy is, so you do have a need for additional energy in the assumption that they have. And they're assuming that that need is met by burning fat. But the problem, what modern science shows, is that if we have hormonal dysregulation, our body will not respond to eating fewer calories by burning more fat. It will respond to the need for more calories, because we're not eating as many, by first slowing down dramatically. That's why starvation dieting makes us hungry, cold, tired, and crabby. So that in and of itself could eliminate the need to burn fat. Now you don't have the need to burn fat because your body just responded to eating less by burning less. Just like maybe if you happen to have the misfortune of losing your job, you might not immediately liquidate your bank account. You might just spend less. So less money in means less money out. When it comes to your body, less calories in, if you're not hormonally healthy, can mean just less calories out. And then also your body could simply make up for the need for calories by burning off muscle tissue. In fact, many studies have shown that if we're not hormonally healed first and we just cut calories, up to 70% of the non-water weight we lose is coming from muscle. So that's the camp which is focusing purely on the need. They're saying eat fewer calories so you create the need to burn fat, but they don't acknowledge that unless you have the ability to burn fat, that your body is just going to slow down and burn muscle instead. Okay, so that's a really important distinction. It is not enough, please write this down. It is not enough to just eat less and therefore cause the need to burn fat, because if you don't have the ability to burn fat by healing your hormones in your gut and your brain, you're actually creating the need to slow down your metabolism and to burn off muscle tissue, which will actually make you gain way more fat long-term. And that's why we yo-yo diet in over 95% of cases when we starve ourselves, okay? So that's the need to burn fat camp. They're ignoring the ability to burn fat. Now, the sort of eat fat all day, the more fat you eat, the more fat you burn, yay, yay, yay. Here's why that can sometimes be misinformed. If you eat, I think we can all agree, if you were to eat 10,000 calories of just pure butter, you will not burn fat, right? What you might hear on the internet is if you eat fat, your body doesn't produce the hormone insulin. And if you don't produce the hormone insulin, you can never store fat. And unfortunately, that's just patently false. The reason that fat that you eat doesn't trigger the release of insulin is because fat, which is then leaves your stomach as what's called triglyceride, or excuse me, fatty acids, does not need insulin to enter your cells. So insulin is required to get sugar into your cells. But insulin is not required to store fat as triglyceride or body fat. So it's absolutely true that eating fat doesn't cause a release of insulin, but that's because your body doesn't need insulin to store fat as fat. Now, that doesn't mean that eating fat makes you fat at all. What eating fat does do is it provides your body with energy. And if your body has the ability and need to burn fat, it can burn the fat that you eat as energy. But if you only use 2,000 calories of energy per day and you eat 6,000 calories of fat, you will store the fat as body fat. There's nothing else that can happen with it. So the saying just eat fat and you burn more fat, like we know that can't be true, because we know that if we ate 10,000 calories of butter, we wouldn't just spontaneously burn fat. Now, what would happen if we ate 10,000 calories of butter, in addition to gaining a bunch of fat, what would happen, because we weren't eating any sugar, like if we ate a 10,000 calorie pure butter diet, just never do that, please. We would retrain our body to fuel itself using fat. So we would become what's called fat adapted. So right now, the vast majority of people in America especially are not fat adapted, meaning that their body is used to burning sugar and it doesn't really know it's lost the ability to burn fat. So when we get most of our calories from fat rather than from sugar, we retrain our body to burn fat as energy rather than preferentially burning sugar as energy. And that's really powerful, because once we've retrained and restored our body's ability to burn fat, now here's where we come into the middle. And this is where the magic happens. Okay, so by eating fat instead of sugar. So it's not just eat more fat, it's you're getting your calories that you do need to eat from fat instead of sugar, because protein isn't really an energy source and fiber isn't an energy source. So it's either fat, sugar, or protein. So you get, instead of sugar and starch, you're eating fat. And then you are eating high satiety foods. And by eating high satiety foods, you don't overeat. If you restore your body's ability to burn fat and you eat high satiety foods, which make it impossible to overeat, now what will happen is you'll experience, and you'll read about this more in your step-by-step program and also in the Calorie Myth book, what happens is you achieve what's called the spontaneous reduction of caloric intake. What the heck does that mean? What that means is, before you had the ability to burn fat, if you needed 2,000 calories in a day, if you didn't eat 2,000 calories, if you ate 1,400 calories, you would just be extremely hungry, because your body wouldn't burn stored fat because it's used to burning sugar. So it would just slow you down and make you hungry. But now, once you restore your body's ability to burn fat, what it's going to start to do is, when it runs out of energy from what you ate, like when it runs, if you don't put enough sort of calories or energy or fat through your lips, it's just going to have the ability to burn the fat off your hips. So what we're talking about here is we need to change the quality of what we're eating to restore our ability to burn body fat. Because if we don't have the ability to burn body fat, creating the need, aka creating caloric deficit, won't burn body fat. It'll slow us down and burn muscle tissue. So we change the quality of our diet and our sleeping and our exercise to restore the ability to burn fat. Part of that is eating fat instead of sugar, but saying eat fat instead of sugar and starch isn't just saying eat more fat. It's not just saying like I'm full, but you should still, stick a chopstick in a stick of butter and eat it like a popsicle. That's a totally different message. So what we do is we restore our ability to burn fat by increasing the quality of what we're eating fat, healthy fat, instead of sugar and starch. Then, because that high quality food has high satiety, we will indirectly and accidentally, our appetite will re-regulate and we will become fuller faster and stay fuller longer. And because things like vegetables and protein are so satisfying, we will accidentally get fuller on fewer calories. The calories that we do eat, by and large, will come from healthy whole food fats. And then, for example, you will, and this is just clinical research, people on a saner lifestyle will have been shown to spontaneously, accidentally, with no hunger, with no deprivation, with no cravings, they accidentally eat 1,000 fewer calories per day. They're not starving themselves. They're not counting calories. They're not trying to eat less. What happens is because what they eat is so satisfying and is so healing, their body just starts to supplement all the food that they're eating through their lips with fat that's stored on their hips. So in a way, they are metabolizing the same number of calories. It's just that up to 1,000 of those calories per day are coming from stored fat. So now that was a whole lot of science, but now it sort of makes sense that if you're an individual who is at an ideal body weight and an ideal body composition, and you don't have excess fat to burn, there's no such thing as healthily supplementing fat that passes through your lips with fat that's sitting on your hips, because there is no fat sitting on your hips. So if you're gonna burn energy, which you need to do if you want to have energy, you got to eat it. But if you have energy in your body already, yes, you do need to eat fat instead of sugar and starch to retrain your body's ability to burn fat. But your body's already got fat in it. So once you create that ability, like you might not need to go out of your way if you're already full to eat a bunch more fat, because protein and vegetables are going to provide you with abundant satiety and abundant nutrition. And then your body's going to supplement that with fat that's already stored. But remember, there are essential fats. Omega-3s, omega-6s are essential fats, and fat is delicious. And it's something that we want to eat because it's good. So that's why I say, we've got the 2 to 6 servings per day. And hopefully now it makes more sense where when I say, if you don't have any fat to burn, you're going to have to eat more fat. But if you've got fat that you could burn off, just adding more fat to your diet will not help you burn that fat, because, eating a sane lifestyle with a appropriate amount of fat, that's going to do everything you need to restore your ability to burn fat. And then if you supplement your fat intake with like adding liquid fat into drinks that you drink, that's going to eliminate the need to burn fat, because that's just going to put more calories in your body. So again, it's not about trying to eat fewer calories, but it is about letting our body spontaneously re-regulate our appetite and then supplement calories that pass through our lips with calories that are already on our hips. Hopefully that made sense.